AI is just making a piece of software able to take its own decision. But
Okay.
from what I understand is absolutely robotics going to boom in the future, in the near future. But right now,
Hello everyone. First of all, thanks for joining here. And we have today Akshat Patel, who is very much active on LinkedIn and one of the top voices on LinkedIn as well. He makes valuable content related to robotics, AI, and also most of the content is related to robotics. And he has done his masters in robotics and he has very good experience, a lot of experience. He has done research in his field, and yeah, all the details will from himself, so I will not waste my time on the introduction part. So Akshat, welcome here. Can you please give you some introduction about yourself?
thank you, Aryan, for the introduction. And it's a pleasure to be here. And you are doing some commendable work. So I
Thank you.
appreciate your efforts. And first of all, I'm no expert. I don't have a lot of experience. I graduated from UCL with a master's in robotics and computation last year in September in 2023.
Okay.
And I studied mechatronics engineering for my bachelor's. I knew I wanted to do robotics since I was like a kid. And
Okay.
I'm one of those kind of people. So I knew what I wanted. So that's the reason I chose mechatronics as my bachelor's and I pursued my master's. Always envisioned myself pursuing a master's course, preferably abroad.
Mm,
And that's the reason I came to the UK. I got into UCL, studied for a year, and now I work as a controls and software engineer at Sunsync, a company
okay.
working in the field of renewable energy.
Great. Okay, that was really impressive. And yeah, and also like you shared about you were like from the childhood itself, you are knowing that you have to do engineering. So that is a kind of relatable to me as well because I was interested in the robotics field by watching the movie Iron Man. I don't know why,
Okay.
but Iron Man is really cool. For now, also I'm really fascinated with it. So yeah, that is great. So, like your field is related to robotics. So, what is robotics engineering for you? Like, because many people say that robotics engineering is related to mechanical, electronics, and computer. It is a combination of all that. But what it is according to you?
I believe, first of all, it's a good question because not a lot of people put a lot of thought into this.
Mm,
For me, robotics is a multidisciplinary field. It cannot be categorized into just mechanical, just electronics, or a bit of software. I think it is an integration of mechatronics and software because a hardware is not very helpful without software, and a software can work standalone, but when combined with
right,
hardware, it can do greater things. And
right,
if you combine that with the knowledge of four bar link mechanisms or
mm,
just joints and forward kinematics and inverse kinematics, I think
right,
that's where robotics start coming into the picture. It is a very vague and umbrella term. So there are
mm,
fields of robotics. You can be working as a software engineer, but you can be working at a robotics company, and that would make you a
right,
robotics software engineer.
yeah.
So it's a very generic term according to me.
Okay, got it. And also, as you said about software, some part of electronics and mechanical, like kinematics, forward, inverse, all those things. So, how do you see these concepts as a robotics engineer? Because you are into this field from your bachelor's, like mechatronics, which is again a different domain, but it is more related to the mechanical, electronics, and all those things. But how you like figured out like what is good for you, like the electronics, mechanical, like because many students get stuck at this point from the first year till their fourth year itself. What should they focus upon, like the software, electronics, and mechanical? Like, how you figured out that?
I would suggest to explore as early as possible and try to eliminate what you don't like. Let's say some
Right.
people are mostly involved into computer aided designing. They are
Okay.
skilled at CAD and they don't care about electronics or let's say how to code. So
Yeah.
they are good at one particular thing. So when you find that niche, you should focus on that. But having the knowledge of every single thing. So
mm,
I believe you should be a jack of all trades, but master of some. You should have one or two skills that you are great at, and that's how
right.
you could be a part of a greater team. You will see that mostly all of the robotics companies have teams that are dedicated in one department. Let's say there is a perception team or a navigation team or
Yeah,
just data acquisition team, some hardware team, or just electronics team. So
right.
you have to be able to contribute to one team very well and also have the knowledge of other teams and other work. So this
Right.
will only happen when you try to explore different things. And
Mm,
the first step to exploring is to knowing what are the different domains of robotics. So that's
exactly.
where the research lies. If you are a
Mm,
first year student watching this video right now, I would suggest you go online, watch a few videos on what are the different domains of robotics, what all aspects could I work on, and you will find projects that are available for replication for free on GitHub, on YouTube. Just try to
yeah,
replicate them, try to understand the concepts involved, and try to do as many things as possible. Just theoretical knowledge will not,
right.
it's not helpful. You have to use your own hands and mess things around, and in the process you learn a lot. And
Mm,
the key to learning is to know what you don't want to do. So that's where
right.
the explanation lies. So I think that's the way to go, according to me.
Right. Learning practically and exploring the things is the key to get into robotics, and also figure outing like what is good for us in the long term
Correct.
itself. Right.
And to
Exactly. And
start
also,
early is
mm,
very important. Sorry to interrupt. To start
okay.
early
No,
is very
no.
important because I
Mm,
started at the end or the mid of the second year of engineering. So I was
right.
2 years late. If I
Mm,
would have known that this is how you should approach a particular field, then
right.
I would have done things differently and I would have been at some other place right now. So,
Yeah.
and this is me who already knew what I wanted to do in the future. Now, imagine the people who don't know what they want to do. Let's say
Yeah.
somebody is
That's
in
the
a mechanical engineering field and they
mm,
don't know that they are interested in robotics, and
right.
they spend
Right.
1 or 2 years just trying to figure out things. I would say if you are in the first year right now, spend at least 2 to 3 hours a day figuring things out. And that's
Exactly.
how you get ahead of the race. And that's very important.
Right. Right. I can relate to that because I was also kind of confused students in my bachelor's, like I want to do this thing, I'm good at this, I'm good at this, like we feel that kind of stuff that we can do everything, but at a particular point we get to know that like we are not doing good uh, at nothing, like we are not doing nothing, like we don't know a particular thing very much deeply, and it gets very hard to get an internship as well. I have like experienced that. So, and also one thing was about, like as you said about that, for example, a mechanical engineer student who want to do something with his skills, or who want to explore, and he doesn't know about the robotics engineering field. But if in case he figure out that he want to get into robotics, so how he should approach, like because his syllabus is different, like more to the mechanical side. But if he's more interested into the software domain, like how he can get into robotics.
I would suggest first you talk to people. Communication is the key. You should have at least a few friends around you who are at least ambitious enough that you talk about academics or life after academics, your career or some projects, or you have some sort of technical conversation during your day. It's
Right.
important to have a social life and to have fun, but at the same time you should have a friend circle that is just technical, and that's where it begins.
Mm,
So if you are a mechanical student, at least have a few friends where you come together, sit together at the cafeteria or while walking, just talk about things in general, engineering.
uh,
And
right.
that's how you explore and get exposure to what others think, how others think. And it is important to come out of that bubble. Most of my friends who studied back home, so I moved cities. I moved from Mumbai to Jaipur for my undergrad for 4 years. Some
Okay.
of my friends who studied at Mumbai, they were at home in the comfort of their hometown, everything. They did not step out of their comfort zone. They did not step out
Mm,
of that bubble, and they couldn't explore more opportunities. While I was
Right.
applying for international internships, while I was at Manipal University, Jaipur, they didn't even know that such thing exists and it is fully funded. And
Okay.
that's the key. So exploration and having that friend circle is the number one step. And then
Right.
second step would be to just talk to your supervisors, talk to your teachers, mentors. I'm sure that every single student has access to good PhD holders and great
Exactly.
postdoctorate holders.
Right.
So make use of that opportunity. Just after lectures, go and talk to them. Talk about how their journey was, and in the process, just ask them if you are interested in the field of robotics. Ask them if they know someone in that field. If they know a professor working at, let's say, an IIT or an NIT or some top institute in India or abroad.
Right.
So try to get as much network, expand your network as much as possible, and
Possible.
that's step number two. And then once you start getting to know about different things, the next thing is to do your own research, trying to get into what it is, how it is, and do things by yourself. And again, that's where the exploration lies.
Okay. Like that was well explained by you. Like we should be a combination of the both technical and the communication skills, which are very important in order to grow in our career. Like the, of course, we are technical guys, but having that communication skill part is very much important, like networking and all those things, because I have also experienced that thing. Many students and some of my friends also, they feel like doing the technical stuff is more important than the communication part, but managing them both like effectively is the key. I think so. I may be wrong, but uh, that's how you also like, that's your experience as well. uh,
I
Anyhow.
so I
Yeah.
recently came across this while I was talking to a few people.
Hmm.
They were working in a startup, and they said that in a deep tech startup, 10% is what you build and 90% is outreach and marketing and sales, because that's
Okay.
what's going to bring in the revenue. That's what's
Right.
going to give you you know the support to run your business. You've
Hmm.
built a fabulous product, but if you
Yeah.
don't know how to market that,
Yeah.
it's useless. So
Exactly.
just you can relate that into your life. You are the
Hmm.
product, and now if you don't know how to put yourself out there, if you don't know how to talk about yourself or talk about things with others, how will you grow? So
Yeah.
that's the key step. No matter what background you have, a mechanical engineer, electronics engineer, a mechatronics engineer, robotics engineer, if you can't express your ideas, it's not going to help you in the long
Hmm.
run. That's my opinion.
Yes. Yeah. That makes sense. And guys, make sure that you're working upon the soft skill part as well, because it is very important. Exactly. And yeah, also talking about the robotics part, the robotics field is emerging. We know that, like currently in India as well, the big robotics companies are very much limited, and the startups are coming out, but they are also limited. So, what do you think about the job market in the field of robotics in India and also as well as abroad as well?
So I do have access to a few friends working at robotics companies in India, so I could speak from their experience, but don't quote me on it because I haven't experienced that firsthand. But
Okay.
from what I understand is absolutely robotics going to boom in the future, in the near future. But right now it is at a very nascent stage, and not a lot of students are aware of this field. And even if they are at universities, I have noticed that mechatronics or robotics is given the least priority, and
Hmm.
the cutoffs for these branches go way above, let's say, computer science, or let's say
Yeah.
electronics or
Exactly.
mechanical.
Right.
So I just want to understand why there is this huge gap of awareness, because people are not very aware. That's number one. And since they are not very aware, there is not a lot of demand to study this. And that is the reason why the cutoffs for these branches go above. That's my logic to it.
Yeah.
And that this is where it starts. If not a lot of people know about it, then they will not try to explore it. The startups will try to find people who already have experience, which makes sense. And it is difficult to, find that internship roles or early career roles. And it will
Right.
continue unless there is a huge supply of engineers.
Mm,
So the more the engineers, more startups, more opportunities. It
right.
works in both the ways. If there are more startups in the field of robotics, then there is already a demand, and the supply can be met in multiple ways. But if you don't have competent people to work at your company, how is this field going to emerge in
Yeah.
the future?
Right.
So
That
it
makes sense.
both of them has to grow side by side. It can't be just one thing. People need to be more aware of robotics and what it is and how to actually pursue this career. And startups and companies need to be more flexible and give engineers a chance. I believe that it's not always possible, because even they are running a startup and cash is the key while running a startup. So you can't really hire and take a punt on someone who doesn't have experience.
Mm,
So it is better to take somebody who already has a few years of experience, and that's how it is.
yeah.
So it will be difficult for a few years at least, until there is awareness enough, and the fresh graduates pass out and then try to work in the field of robotics, and they become experienced and they start their own companies or try to uplift the existing companies. And that's where the graph will go in an exponential fashion. Right now it's growing definitely, but the growth is slow according to me, because there's not a lot of awareness, and that's what I
Right.
want to do personally. That's the reason I started posting on LinkedIn, and I think
Mm,
that's your reason as well, somewhere
yeah.
down the line.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I also want to create awareness about robotics, and if some people benefit from that, then that is good. Because as you said earlier, that you are like kind of a person who got to know about robotics in your late uh, engineering bachelor's, like around second or third year. Same stories with me. Like I got to know about it in my third year. When my fourth year was going to start, I figured out like I have to work upon robotic software, especially for ROS. ROS is just a tool, but I like it, and also I like the some part of programming as well. Instead of hardware, because I'm versed at electronics, so that's a completely different part. But the awareness about robotics is important, and also the field is emerging. But I also think that unless and until you don't take the risk, the like you can't follow the herd all the time, because all the students are going to the computer engineering or the IT side. But if you don't try the another field, you may face regret after your 10 years. Like why I didn't go to, this is just for example. This may not happen. This can happen to myself as well. Because if robotics is not at that stage, I may also face regret. But trying something new is not a big deal, because at the end of the day you will get a job at your skill itself. If your skill is good, no one is going to see from which background you are coming. So that could be the
That's
reason
true, I
to,
agree.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So now we have one point about skills. Like, so can you please give some uh, skills? First of all, the technical skills, which are important for a robotics engineer, and the non-technical skills as well, because I think both are important to get a job for non-tech and the technical as well to become a robotics engineer, according to you.
Okay. Okay, so starting with the skills for robotics, and I will start with the technical skills. First of all, I would like to emphasize how much mathematics is important for robotics. You
Mm,
have to be on top of your concepts that you studied probably in your first or your second year of engineering, if you are from an engineering background. If not, your 12th standard mathematics or 11th and 12th standard mathematics is the base. You need
mm,
to know calculus, you need to know linear algebra, and you need to know matrices. That's, according to me, the base of just robotics in general. If you know all of this, that's when you will start to understand how the algorithms are implemented when you try to code them when you work
mm,
on projects. But if you
right.
don't understand how things are working, you will not understand the details of it. So there is a debate going on whether or not you should actually learn this or not. If AI tools are going to take over,
Mm,
and generative AI is going to diminish your
yeah.
software abilities or your coding abilities. I personally
Yeah.
believe that you you have to learn how to work with it and not
Mm.
just rely on it. If you don't know
Right.
what it's producing is right or not, what is the use? There's no way
Mm.
to check. And when you're working on a real world robot in a situation which is probably dangerous or not feasible for mistakes,
Yeah.
you can't just rely on something that's generated from you know AI fed knowledge. You
Yeah.
have to have the knowledge to understand what it is and make sure that it is feasible and safe, run it in simulation and then deploy.
Mm.
So I believe first of all you start with mathematics. You should have at least some physics knowledge because when it comes to robot manipulation, physics is going to be key. And losses, the importance of losses is also important. Let's say friction or any other drag or something else, because all of this plays a major role and people don't really focus on them and they take it lightly. So I would say physics and mathematics is the base, and then start with programming. No matter who you are, what your background is, and what you want to do in the future, you need to know at least one programming language.
Mm.
And that's just because it will develop a particular logic in your head that I think not a lot of other things can do.
Mm.
So how to organize your code, how to make it more efficient, how to handle time complexity and space complexity.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to robotics, every single thing boils down to money. You have to write efficient code so that there would be minimum losses, so that there would be minimum energy loss, and there would be minimum wastage of money.
Yeah.
And this is applicable in any field. But it starts with understanding and writing good quality code.
Yeah.
So that's why learning a programming language is extremely important. I personally suggest learning C++. Python is easier to learn and easy to work with, but
Mm.
it is not really used a lot in industries. It is more of a prototype language,
Yeah.
according to me. But C++ is mostly used in industry. So try to learn C++ and Python, and then the you know software engineering knowledge is important if you want to be a software engineer, even if that's not your background. Let's say you pursued mechatronics engineering, so you might not have studied about data structures and algorithms, but
Mm.
in the real world implementation, that's the key. How will you save the joint angles of a robot that is moving in 3D space? Maybe it's a 6 or 7 or 8 degree of freedom robot. How would
Right.
you save that for optimum efficiency? If you don't know data structure knowledge, then you will not be able to understand this. And these are some of the questions that interviewers ask during interviews. And the other technical skill that I think is extremely important, most people neglect it and don't focus on it, is networking and
Yeah.
just troubleshooting in general. All of the robotic systems mostly will be deployed in somewhere in the world,
Yeah.
and it will not be on the same network, and
Exactly.
you will definitely not be in the same room as the robot. You won't be able to see what's going on.
Right.
So how will you debug something that you can't see just using a command line? So the
Mm.
knowledge of Linux, because most of the systems are working based on a Linux environment. So the knowledge of Linux, the knowledge of networking. Okay, how do I know if that network is on or not? Do I know the concept of pinging? How do I
Mm.
check if my packets are not getting lost? Or how do I re-establish a connection? Or
Yeah.
even if I need to send someone to the site, what should I tell them? So the just the knowledge of debugging and networking is extremely important. Not a lot of people focus on it and they don't even study about it. So just study about DNS and networking in general, how IP addresses are allocated, how to work on the same network, what is proxy, what is reverse proxy, what is
Mm.
tunneling. All of these concepts are not really taught to people pursuing any other non CS course. And that's
Exactly.
where that this is the difference between a an okay engineer and a good engineer, because an okay engineer will meet all the criteria, but a good engineer will also meet the criteria and know about how to function in the real world.
Mm.
So this is extremely important. And then you can start with ROS. I would say finish the intermediate section on ROS Wiki, ROS 1, because it's a good starting point. But make the switch to ROS 2 very quickly, because things are going to change to ROS 2 very soon now. ROS is coming
Yeah.
to its end of life, and you can't really rely on just ROS now. It's ROS
Yeah.
2, and also explore different middlewares. Are there other middlewares? What can I use? What are the different simulation softwares that industry use? Do I know about Robotic? What is NVIDIA Isaac Simulator? All of
Right.
these things are very easy to just explore. Just know about them, try to download them, try to install the free version, take a feel of what it is, what it does, what others are doing in the world, and
Right.
just that's it. If that interests you, go deeper. Otherwise, it's okay. But
Mm.
this is what, technically speaking, I think every engineer, every robotics engineer should have. The knowledge of kinematics, dynamics is, I'm not even saying it's by default. You should know all of that.
Yeah. Exactly. So you explained it very well, the technical side of it, because some part of networking that you mentioned about the IP address and all those things, I was aware of it, but the other part that you said, I was not knowing about it very much deeply. So I will also work upon that part, the DNS part as well. So that will be really helpful for the software people. And also, what I have heard about the technical skills is that many people only focus upon the ROS part and not the programming part. So that is also important to focus upon the C++ and the Python as well, because there are also some pre-built libraries which helps in prototyping, and C++ for the better communication with the hardware. And what would be the non-technical skills that will help as a help for a robotics engineer to get a job or else
Uh,
to stand out?
Got it. So before I jump into that, I would just like to add another important thing, which is Docker, or just learn about
Mm,
containerization. Many companies use this, and it is important that you know what Docker is and what's the concept involved in containerization, Docker, Kubernetes, and anything.
right.
But that's usually used in industries. So I think the knowledge of that would also be helpful. Learn about virtualization, what it is. Learn about SSH, because you would probably SSH into your robot running a Linux environment. So that's also important. So talking about the non-technical skills, I think the first important part is communication. That's most important. And not just communication, technical communication. You should be able to express your
Mm,
technical ideas with people around you. So, and also people who are not in your country. Let's say you are put
okay.
in an international team, you don't know how to talk to people from abroad, how to be mindful of their cultural ideas, their background, how to say
Okay.
things. That's very important, because when you are working at a company, you could be working with people from all over the world, not
Mm,
just your local people. And
right.
there is a difference between working with people from your city, from your state, from your country, and working abroad. And
Yeah.
every layer is different. So just expressing your ideas in a concise way and ensuring that the other person understands what you're trying to convey is extremely important. And this will only come with practice. So if you don't practice early, it's not going to work out in 2 days.
Mm,
And this is
yeah.
important. How to talk to, how to just stand and talk to people casually about technical topics, or how to present to, let's say, 5 people, how to present to 500 people.
Mm,
Those are some of the skills that not a lot of students focus on while they are
right.
in their engineering phase. So that's number one. Second one is, I would say, time management, because you could see how overwhelming this sounds. You probably are a mechanical or electronic student, or you're a mechatronic student. You already have a plethora of stuff to do. You have assignments, your coursework, your exams, your oral exams, your lab exams, you need to write your journals. and you need to complete your notes, and you need to study for your exams. On top of that, you have your midterms. I think all the universities have two midterms and then a final exam. So, and there are quizzes, and there are, lab vivas. So
Yeah.
you are technically not free at all to do
Right.
things. So you have to balance your social life, you have to balance your academic life, and you have to balance your aspirations. Very severe time management skills will be involved to
Mm.
excel in all of these. And you will
Right.
have to sort of compromise in something. And mostly for me, what I did was I did not have a very active social life. I used to hang out with a few people, and that's it. I used to have set routines. Dinner at my mess
Right.
starts at 7:30 p.m. I used to start eating 7:30, first one in the line to eat. In 20
Yeah.
25 minutes, I would eat, take a walk 10 15 minutes, and that's it. I would study from 8:15 p.m. to about 10:30 p.m. And then I would just hang out with my roommate, eat Maggie
Yeah.
in my hostel room, and just sleep.
Yeah.
That used to be my routine for 2 years, and
Mm.
then we got hit by the pandemic. But this was my
Right.
routine every single day, dedicatedly. So I lost, a few instances on my social life, but I maintained my academic life, and I maintained a good portfolio of projects and
Right.
research. So in the long term, for me, it was a win. I don't have any regrets, but
Mm.
probably I would have done things differently. I would have managed my time differently, but there is always scope for improvement. So time
Exactly.
management is another important skill that you need to focus on. And the other thing that is also extremely important, and it's kind of technical, but it falls into the non-technical bit, is to be able to document whatever you do and
Yeah.
make it reproducible.
Mm.
A good and excellent engineer will document their work in such a way that even somebody with no experience of what it is will be able to do it all over again from scratch.
Right.
And this is a very important skill to have, because the how would you know what level of details you need to add to your documentation?
Mm.
You would only know if you try and test it. So just start with your projects, have a GitHub repository, no matter who you are, what you do. If you work on a project, try to document it, create a wiki on GitHub, document all your steps, make it open source, share it with your friends, make a post on LinkedIn, and
Mm.
just keep doing it all over again. Because when you come to a company, you need to work with people from other departments, other teams, and just people who you never knew existed. How will they understand what you have done, and how will you understand what they are doing in their code or repository?
Right.
That's documentation, and that's a very important communication medium for engineers. So that's what I also wanted to include. I think that's it from my side for non-technical skills.
Yes.
There are more, definitely there are more,
Mm.
but
Right.
three for me are the most important ones.
Yeah, and actually, I think those are the most important and the most neglected ones as well, because we don't know in our engineering how to proceed with the job market, and we start only on the technical skills which are in trend, and we forget about the non-technical part. So I also face the same issue, but one thing I got to know was about the communication skills. So what I used to do is that, like, I used to practice my English skills by using one app. I think so, Clubhouse. The app name was Clubhouse. I used to practice English on that, like talking to random people. Uh, Globally, internationally. So it helped me to boost my confidence to speak about English. Now also, I face some consequences on the English part, but still I'm able to communicate at the basic level. But that was one thing. And one thing on the communication skill is also that you can try to record your videos by just picking your mobile phone, and we can try to record our video and just try to figure out like where we are lagging behind, and get some feedback on our own. So that was the part I wanted to add. If someone want to work upon their communication skills.
I would like to add to this point as well. I believe
Yes.
that your your intelligence has nothing to do with what language you speak and how you speak it. It's
Mm,
just a medium of communication. So
right.
it's okay. It is natural to feel conscious and hesitant to speak in a language which is not your first language.
Yeah.
So I know where it comes from, but at the end of the day, we should just treat language for what it's worth. It's just a medium of communication. And if you are able to express your ideas and convey your message to the other person the way you want, then you have succeeded. There's no other
Mm,
requirement to be always grammatically correct unless you are,
right.
presenting a presentation to a class, or you are, defending your PhD thesis.
Mm,
So
right.
it's not always a requirement. And
Okay.
the things you mentioned can also be done, speaking to people online, or just recording yourself are excellent ways to develop the skill. But I also think that these are the things where active effort is required to
Mm,
do.
right.
I mean, how
Right.
many people will open their phone and record their voice or just record a video? If you practically
Yeah.
think about it, not a lot of people are going to do that. So,
Exactly.
what I would suggest is start watching shows in English.
Mm,
Start watching
right.
shows, and you will be exposed to a lot of new vocab, a lot of phrases, and different, dialects, and that will
Mm,
open up new agendas and areas for you to explore. And you can,
right.
use that in your day to day conversation. Try to
Yeah.
avoid filler words as much as possible. And it's not important, but you need to start doing that, because when you work in a company, you have to face the international environment. You have to face people from different parts of the country, different parts of
Right.
the world, and
Mm.
it's just essential to express your ideas.
Got it, got it. And also, that could be the way to your journey, like what you want to do could be achieved through that particular procedure. Because sometimes what happens is that, as you said, we don't have enough time to particularly invest on that particular domain because the technical skills are also very much important and the syllabus is very much vast. So, in order to cover that, we can't focus on a particular skill at a time. So, we should manage both the things at a time. That will fall under time management that you explained previously.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well explained by you, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes. And also, when we complete our bachelor's, some students feel about that they should study masters. So, what could be the way to get into masters for robotics or else other domains as well? And is there any way for scholarships? 100%, or I don't know what are the scholarship criterias, but what could be the best way to get into masters?
So deciding whether or not you want to pursue a master's is in itself a big decision.
Mm,
So spend a few months trying to decide if that is the way to go for yourself or not. And if yes, then from where? From your own country, from India, from abroad? And if abroad, then which country? There are so many countries offering robot. I think there are all the countries offer robotic courses. So where do you want to go? Where can you go? And most importantly, finances. So it's a very
mm,
complicated decision, and you have to weigh the pros and cons. You have to make a list and try to balance what can you do, what you want to do, what's feasible and what's not feasible. When you arrive a conclusion, it is never about pursuing a degree. I don't think that I became an expert pursuing a master's degree, and I don't think that's true for anyone unless you have a few years of experience, and then you pursue a master's and try to specialize in one particular field, which is
mm,
also difficult, but it's possible. But most of the students who go directly after their bachelor's don't really know or what to expect during a master's. So personally, I would suggest the best way to pursue a master's would be to support it with a few years of experience, industry experience.
mm,
Precisely working in the field of robotics would be very helpful, even if it is not a very high paying job at first.
yeah.
So you study, you try to get a job in the field of robotics, and then you decide where to go and what to do for your masters. Maybe you don't don't want to pursue robotics and you want to pursue artificial intelligence or embodied AI or just embedded systems or embedded AI.
mm,
So there are so many different fields that you could explore once you have that industry experience. But I know again this is a personal decision and it a lot of factors are involved in deciding that. So
right.
if you are someone who is directly going after your bachelor's, then there is there are a few things that you need to be aware of. Let's say the country you go to, what are that location exactly in that country, what is the job market like in that country, are the startups, are the companies, are the research and
Yeah,
development departments of other companies in that country.
right.
So what's the field like, and again, what is the visa situation going to be like?
Mm,
Because you can be an excellent engineer, but if you can't find somebody who can sponsor your visas, it's not of no use. You will have to come back to your own country. So that's
right.
another concern. And all of these are the factors that are involved in deciding the country of your higher education. And I think you also asked about scholarships.
Yeah.
I think scholarships are available for at almost every university. It is just very,
Okay.
very competitive, especially when it comes to the US.
Okay.
And there are scholarships ranging from 5% to 100%. There are
Okay.
fully funded, plus you get a stipend and you get
Okay.
allowances. My
Mm,
one of my friends is pursuing their research masters and research course from the UK, and they get yeah, the entire education is funded, plus they get allowance
mm,
for living and some allowance
oh,
for spending academically. And so
right.
everything is possible. It's just about knowing what exists. I came to know about the scholarships available in at UCL very late, and I applied late. So I lacked clarity when I was in this process. And now I know exactly what not to do. So
Mm,
if you are someone who is in your second year, try to decide whether or not you want to go for masters. Straight after bachelor's, maybe work for a few years after that, and then you want to go. What country? And how will you manage your finances? And what is
mm,
the return on investment? If you are
right.
going to spend about a crore rupees in the span of 2 years, and then it will take you about 4 to 5 years to gain it all back, and then it's you have to weigh your situation and weigh the pros and cons. So
Right.
take an informed decision. A lot of factors play into it, and talk to your parents. That's extremely
Mm,
important because
exactly.
they are the ones who are funding you. So if you
Right.
don't convey and there is no clarity of what you are and where you are, it's not going to work out properly. And there are scholarships definitely, but you need to know. We can't get into the details of it right now, but I would love to talk about it. There
Yeah.
are few videos on my YouTube channel as well where I
Right.
talk about scholarships and the way to approach masters. So I think if you are genuinely interested, you could just go there. It is a featured video on my channel, so you can just watch it there. But masters is not a requirement. If you are
Mm,
skilled enough, the company will respect that and compensate you on the basis of what you can offer and bring on the table.
okay.
It's not about what you study and where you studied from. Nobody
Right.
asks me if I studied from the top 10 universities of the world. Nobody cares, and nobody should
Right.
care,
Mm,
because it is always going to be about who you are and what you do and what you bring to the table.
right.
Even if you are somebody with just 2 years of experience, or you are a college dropout, but you can do the job better than most engineers, you are going to get hired.
Right.
That
That
piece
makes
of
sense.
paper is pointless according to me, but it is about the journey and the experience that
Mm,
that's important. The
right.
exposure that you get studying and living abroad, trying to deal with your own life on your own terms, taking responsibility and credibility of what you do and how you do, that's what grows you as a person. And
Right.
it's not about the technical skill, it's not about the expertise, but it's about the overall experience that master's journey, you know, possess.
Right.
That's why a lot of people do that.
Exactly. Actually, the master part is very much clear because many of the students get stuck at this point and they may take the decision emotionally that one of my friend is doing masters, so I should also go to the US. But this particular explanation said by you will give clarity to the students. And also the video at your channel, I will also put the link in the description so that anyone who want to watch the video in more detail, they can get into it. Yeah. And
Perfect.
also,
Thank you.
yeah, exactly. The thing that you said during the master's explanation about AI. So, what are the fields related to AI? Because AI is not related to much to the robotics, but correlated to the robotics. But someone who is more interested to AI, so what should they do? Should they do or else in the masters as well as on the skills part?
To pursue AI, you should be an excellent programmer. You need to know a particular language,
Mm,
preferably Python, because most of the work is done in Python. And
right,
study about machine learning and deep learning. What is AI? AI is just making a piece of software able to take its own decision. And the decision could be anything. It could be predicting some house rates based on different parameters, let's say number of windows, number of doors, area, or it could be taking decisions between whether or not you should brake when you are in a self-driving car.
right,
Everything is AI.
right,
Everything starting from there to self-driving cars is AI. And I think first of all, you should AI involves a lot of mathematics, probability, statistics, calculus, differential equations
right.
are all involved in AI. And you should be aware of all of these concepts mathematically. Only then you will be able to understand the algorithms. And it is important to understand how an algorithm works. Otherwise, how will you know what to use when you have a data set? So that's another skill you need to gain. It's part of data, probably part of data acquisition, then data cleaning, then pre-processing it properly, which is also cleaning is a part of pre-processing, but pre-processing, and then trying to implement algorithms that are fit to that data set. So
Okay,
that is important.
right,
And in terms of robotics, you could introduce AI in almost every single aspect. You could make the path of the robot manipulator more efficient by training it, in different, by traversing it in different coordinates in the 3D space. Once you have a good data set, you could train that, make a reinforcement learning model, and then when you have a random point in 3D space, it will take the most efficient path. Same applies to navigation.
right,
There are different algorithms for navigation. There are different algorithms for control of the wheels for that navigation, and then perception, working with lidars, working with cameras, working with stereo cameras, multiple cameras. And there are so many concepts involved in all of these that if you want to be an AI robotics engineer, then you need to know all of these concepts and be an
okay.
expert in some of them.
Mm, right. And also, like, it is really deep, I think so, because AI that you first of all explained was about the data side and the one on the robotics side. So AI can be implemented with any field, I think so. It depends upon us in which field we are more interested into. Right.
Correct. Just like there was this IoT revolution back, I think, a few years ago,
Hmm.
there will be an AI revolution now. It is already going on. And
Yeah.
it would be AI enabled watches, AI enabled phones, AI enabled speakers, AI enabled laptops,
Right.
your stick, your bike, your everything will be AI, AI, AI.
Yeah. Right.
And language, natural language processing is the key, to all of this. Because if you want to target a larger audience or a bigger market, whatever you can do in natural language processing has that ability to reach a larger audience, according to my opinion. So
Yeah.
every single field of robotics can be associated with AI. So
mm,
we could, dive into the technical aspects of it, but I think uh, we could leave that for the audience to just
mm.
explore for themselves.
Exactly, exactly. Right. Okay. And also, moving to the next question, which is on LinkedIn, because we have covered all the questions, I think, so related to skills, non-technical skills, job and skills, the robotic side, the AI side, the student side as well. Now coming on to the LinkedIn part, because what we build is also important to show. So, what is your take on LinkedIn, on the jobs part, LinkedIn jobs, and also LinkedIn profile building?
I believe this is a good question, and if you are listening this far or watching this video so far, you should stick around for about 5 to 7 minutes right now, because I came to know about LinkedIn in 2020 after 2 years about after 2 years of my bachelor's. I
Right.
heard about it, but I did not care enough to make an account or just activate it
Mm-hmm.
or post something.
Yeah.
And for almost 2 years, I neglected it, and then I saw that I started seeing a lot of students posting their content on LinkedIn back in 2022, 2021,
Mm,
and that's where it struck me that this can be actually used to market yourself,
yeah.
and it is your professional digital presence, and it is important to have a LinkedIn account. Most of their employers will look at your LinkedIn account. They are not going to look at your Facebook or Instagram account, but they will definitely look at your LinkedIn account.
LinkedIn account.
From
Yeah.
LinkedIn, they will go to your GitHub account. From there, they could go to your, if you are a software engineer, they could go to your lead code, your code chef, code forces account. They could see your Stack Overflow. They could see your contributions on other repositories, your open source contributions. So for me, it was that point wherein I realized that LinkedIn is a very important tool, a necessary tool to have in your profile. While I was applying for my master's applications, I prepared my LinkedIn profile. I prepped it up, watched a lot of videos on YouTube, optimized
Okay.
my profile, the headline, the
Mm,
picture, the banner, the description,
right.
all my featured posts, and added my projects, the link to my papers, added some scores, awards and achievements, and just started connecting with like-minded people. I used to just type robotics engineer, whatever popped up, connect, connect,
Mm.
connect. Just like back in the days wherein we, send friend request on Facebook to,
Yeah.
your school friends. Somebody
Right.
from XYZ school, all of the people are connected on Facebook. That's what I used to do. So from that time till 2023 October, I just connected with people, had conversations about masters, about job markets, and how to pursue skills that are industry relevant. And during this time, I had completed my masters, and
Okay.
I missed it. It was only a 1 year course. A master's course in the UK is generally 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to be in that environment for longer. And at the same time, I noticed that I could impart whatever I have gained in the
Mm,
last 5 years with someone who is just starting out. And maybe
right.
I could reach that audience and just try to change or affect one life. That was my aim. So 323 days ago, I started posting continuously daily on LinkedIn. And in that way, I learned a lot. I made a very good network. I met amazing people online. I had one-on-one conversations with strangers, and
Mm,
I I contributed to projects and got a lot of ideas on what to do, how to do things. And I can't speak about a few things right now, but it's coming up in the future. But
okay.
a lot of doors opened up for me when I started putting myself out there. And I understand
Right.
it's not for everyone. Not everybody likes to post on LinkedIn, and not
Mm,
everybody cares about it. But
right.
if you do that, and I believe posting in the field of robotics right now is a very hot time,
Mm,
because if you search about robotics engineers and creators in the field of robotics, you would hardly find 100 to 200 people.
exactly.
So it is easier to be an expert, online expert, in
Yeah.
quotes, on LinkedIn
Yeah.
in the field of robotics right now than to be an online quote unquote expert in, let's say, some other field, which is very
Mm.
well known. Let's say computer science.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I started LinkedIn, to be in touch with their classroom environment, to impart some amount of experience that I gained in the past 5 years. And in the process, I created a team. I started my channel on WhatsApp. It has about 950 people now. I
Wow.
create groups on WhatsApp. There are almost 660 people on that group. There are subgroups. There are conversations going on, automatically. If somebody needs to ask something, they ask. There is a short conversation. That's the end. And repeat. It is self functioning now. And I wanted to build a community wherein I can have like minded people and they feel that they are part of something bigger. In that
Mm.
community, there are people from different countries, different backgrounds, different
Right.
cultures, different states of India.
Yeah.
And we all have one thing in common, that is the passion for robotics. And that is a very cool thing to have 500 people with one thing in common. And that's probably their career aspiration.
Yeah.
So, that according to me is important than just posting blindly on LinkedIn, to form a community. And it also teaches you a lot. Everything that I post, I have to read it, understand it, make sure that I'm able to convey my message properly, and understand the concept of plagiarism, copyrights,
Right.
what can I post and what can't I post, and how should I cite my sources. Everything is
Mm.
important, and
Yeah.
it teaches you a lot basically. And as a vanity metric, you get a lot of followers, which is again good, because you start slow, you reach a lot of people, and then you start consistently posting, and then you reach a lot more people than you could have. So having a
Mm.
lot of followers is also a good thing, because in that way,
Yeah.
if you have something good to share, you would be able to share with a lot more people.
Not good. Yeah. That was good. So anyone who has not yet created their LinkedIn profile, please create it, and also visit Akshat's LinkedIn profile because he has optimized it very well. I am also going to refer it once. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I've seen your
Yes.
profile as well. You have some nice thumbnails of stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I try to create the thumbnails creatively. Let's see how it goes. So this was about the episode on robotics. Let's call it the complete guide on robotics by Akshat Patel. And if possible, Akshat, please join us on the next episode because at the end of every podcast, I like to invite the people who come on my channel for the next episode with new insights and new things to learn because I am feeling the vibe from you that you know really great things which could be added in the next episode. So, yeah.
I am honored, and I would we can plan it offline. I have a better
Mm,
idea in mind. And I
wow.
will definitely clarify that I am not an expert in any way. I am not a robotics engineer by any means right now. Studying
Mm,
about robotics doesn't make you a robotics engineer.
right.
So it is only the knowledge that you have that will make you XYZ engineer. So
Exactly.
I have a lot of things to share, and those are mostly the things, the mistakes that I made. And I think that is the only thing I should be talking about. I should
Right.
not be teaching what is robotics,
Mm,
because I'm not a teacher, I'm not a professor.
right.
I've studied what I've been taught, but I
Exactly.
haven't sat down and did my own thinking about the field of robotics
Mm,
and try to, branch things out, make things understandable. I haven't done
right.
that yet.
Mm,
So I'm not an expert to talk about, but I can talk about my experiences and what was masters like, or what
yeah.
was working at this company for a year like. What did I learn?
Mm,
What all skills that I acquired during my bachelor's and masters are actually
yes.
implemented in real life in the current industry scenario. So those are
Yes.
things that are important, which people
Right.
don't really talk about. So maybe we could do something. Let's talk
Yes.
offline after some time, and we can come up with a good idea.
Yeah. That will be really great, actually.